So you've told me that there is a time and a place for broader team discussions and input. There's a time and a place as we get closer to a game or a tournament where that's people are fulfilling agreed upon behaviours and preparation patterns.
Yeah.
Strategy, input to strategy and input to tactics. For the sake of this series, we're saying strategy is long-term planning, a season-long plan, a tournament-long plan. Tactics are shorter. Normally, how you win a game against a particular opposition, or a quarter or a half or something like this.
Yeah.
How much input should players have in long-term strategy before we start? How much input should players have in tactics during a game?
So I think ideally players become, let's break this down. So ahead of time, players should take ownership of the way they play, the things they're doing, what's being asked of them, and should have an opinion and voice those opinions with the coach, with the leadership teams and whatever, and within their lines, because it's important to not just for them to fully understand what they're being asked to do, but for them to get behind it, and feel engaged, and really feel like they believe in the mission. And in game, I think what you would hope is that you have independent thinkers on the pitch, that everyone is, as a playing group, we are thinking independently, and we are actioning the things that have been spoken about in your sort of strategic lead up planning stage, and you're actioning them on the pitch, and you're not so dependent on the coach. And that's why those really important times just before a game, at half time, when we haven't got long, you're trying to get fluid on board, you're trying to take a breather, you really do need to shut up and listen to the coach, because those are the periods where you've got zero idea of anything that's happened outside of your perspective in a game, because as a player you have got tunnel vision, right? You see what's in front of you, but you do not see the game from an aerial perspective, whereas coaches are looking at everything in the round, and you have to trust your coach to have seen your issue or your problem or your concern during the game, and to weigh that up along the list of it. And whatever those, there should be like 3 points that come out of a halftime team talk, because that's all the players that ever really are capable of remembering during a team talk. Otherwise you just get, if you overload, they come out and then they just run around and forget everything you said. So ideally you'd have players independently thinking and not so dependent on your coaches during game, and listening to them purely at half time when they're giving you their overview. But that doesn't happen all the time necessarily, and so you do need coach input mid game as well.
As a captain, how do you bring someone back who perhaps is being a bit too independent?
As a captain, yeah, I mean that is probably one of those taskmaster sort of jobs. And say you've got an independent player. I like that. An independent player is probably one that's dribbling up their own bleep. So
up their own right wing.
Yes, exactly. And so how do you deal with that player? And I think again, that's a perspectives thing. So do you realize what that is doing? Do you, because that player is not doing that to piss everyone else off, are they? They're doing that because they think that they're going to win the game for everyone, and they're going to be the hero, and that they're going to be the savior, and everyone's going to applaud them for it. And so it comes from a good place. A lot of things within a team come from people wanting to better and improve the team. It's a perspectives thing, and it's directing them to the fact that out of the last 3 times you've done that, it hasn't helped. X player is obviously getting frustrated, so let's have a thought. And I'm sure I don't voice it that calmly mid-game. I'm sure Tom would be testament to that. But yeah, it's a perspective thing. It's getting people to realize, or to think of what their actions are. You can't stop people doing things. You can't stop people doing things that irritate people. You can't change anyone's behavior. You just have to do your best to try and to make them realize where they might be going wrong.